Welcome to Washington Hospital Today, dedicated to informing residents about healthcare topics and issues. Through programs featuring community forums and free health and wellness classes, our goal is to empower community members with the information needed to make informed health decisions. Washington Hospital has been providing healthcare to the residents of the Washington Township Healthcare District for the past 60 years.
Hello, welcome to today's presentation, Healthy Lifestyles for Kids, presented by Dr. Rishika Singh, pediatrician with Washington Township Medical Foundation. Dr. Singh is board certified in pediatrics with an MBBS from BJ Medical College in India. She completed her pediatric residency at Western Michigan University School of Medicine, Kalamazoo, Michigan. She is a current fellow at Andrew Weil Center for Integrative Medicine at the University of Arizona. Dr. Singh's philosophy of care is influenced by her family's history in healthcare, as well as her interest in integrative medicine. Both of her parents were practicing physicians, and she was inspired by the number of people they helped throughout their careers. Dr. Singh believes in an interconnected approach to medicine, which involves combining mental, nutritional, lifestyle, and evidence-based medical treatments for the whole person. As a pediatrician, she counsels families on developing a solid foundation, making lifestyle choices, and adopting a preventative approach for their children. Outside medicine, Dr. Singh enjoys baking, reading, and spending time with her family. Please welcome Dr. Singh.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Kayla. Today, I'll be talking about how to promote a healthy lifestyle in kids. So why is this topic so important? Preventive health is the heart of pediatrics. If you're able to teach our kids how to make healthy choices and give them the tools to be able to do so, we will be able to prevent a lot of chronic diseases and ensure that they have a healthy and a happy future. Let's take a look at some numbers. About 90% of people do not eat enough vegetables. About 80% do not eat enough fruits. In the last 3 decades, the number of children with obesity have almost doubled, and adolescents have almost tripled. About 50% of adults live with at least one preventable chronic disease. Let's take a minute here. That means every other adult has a disease that could have been prevented if we had led a healthy lifestyle. 35% of kids between the ages of 4 and 14 do not get enough sleep. And average time that a teenager spends with electronics is about 8 hours a day. Putting this into perspective, this means it's like a full-time job. It's 40 hours a week. Currently, close to 15 million kids are diagnosed with obesity. How do we get here? We usually start with a healthy child. When this child is presented with an obesogenic environment, so there's easy access to non-nutritional foods, lots of screen time, and not enough movement. They could be studying all day and getting no play. We end up gaining weight, and as we put on weight, it makes them slower. They get tired easily. There's lesser movement as we go on. And this cycle continues, and soon we end up with an adolescent or a young adult who now has diabetes, hypertension, kidney problems, liver issues, respiratory issues, and mental health issues. This will all eventually lead to cardiac problems and eventually an early death. My role as a pediatrician is to make sure that I equip my patients and their families with the right tools so they're able to break this cycle. How do we do that? This leads to the 5 secrets on how to lead a healthy and a happy life. Number 1, we need to be able to inspire healthy eating habits. Kids learn by example. If you tell a child to do something, they're likely not going to listen. But if you yourself are making these changes for you, they're likely going to follow. So if they see you reach out for a can of soda every time you're thirsty, guess what their preference is going to be? So before we make changes for our kids, we need to make changes for ourselves. We need to be encouraging physical activity. As little as 1 walk a day can help your physical health. We need to be focusing on improving sleep hygiene. Research suggests that increasing your sleep by only 45 minutes can have tremendous benefits, improve your general sense of well-being, and also help with cardiometabolic health. We need to be focusing on mental health. Just as little as socializing our kids a little bit more with family and friends can help their mental health. Limit screen time. This is a hard one now that schools are also utilizing a lot of electronics for educational purposes. In these situations, my advice to families is generally that limit the recreational time with screens as much as possible. So we need to be making the right nutrition choices. And this is a simple thing, but it's not that easy. I'm usually asked by families on what foods should they be providing more of and how much should they be using of certain foods. I usually refer to this pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid, as you can see, have fruits and vegetables. We should be eating this in abundance every single meal, every single day. Then comes our herbs and spices, whole grains, then protein-rich plant foods, protein-rich animal foods, dairy, and foods that are rich in healthy fats. And then we can have an occasional healthy sweet. Nutrition is then broken down into your macronutrients and your micronutrients. Macronutrients are basically the foods that provide our calories. And these can then be divided into protein, fats, and carbohydrates. There are lots of fad diets these days which are omitting one group of foods completely. That's not the healthy way to do that. All these different food groups have their own little purpose. And by removing one food group completely, we are missing out on some good nutrition. The key is to eat these in moderation every day. When we look at proteins, some of good sources of the protein would be lentils, beans, tofu, when we're talking plant-based. When it comes to animal-based protein, chicken, fish, and eggs are better. So I generally recommend eating lower down on the food chain and limiting the amount of red meat that we are consuming. When we look at fats, they're also essential. They help absorb some of these vitamins that we are consuming in our foods. The healthier fats would be nuts, seeds, olive oils, avocado. Seed oils are okay to take in moderation despite of how much they've been demonized on social media. But I do recommend limiting saturated fats. These fats are usually present in whole fat dairy, butter, ghee, palm oil, coconut oil, and meats. They will increase your bad cholesterol, so we need to limit that. Carbs can be divided into simple carbs and complex carbs. Simple carbs are the ones that have less fiber. These are easily broken down by your body. Complex carbs, on the other hand, they have a lot of fiber, and it takes time for your body to process it. Fiber is really good for us for multiple reasons. One, it keeps you fuller longer, so we're not looking for a snack every hour to 2 hours. They're also really important for our microbiome, which is the healthy bacteria in our gut. They're basically food for them. They're also important for cardiac health because fiber helps reduce cholesterol. Some good examples of complex carbohydrate would be whole wheat, quinoa, brown rice, whole grain pasta, and bread. Vegetables and fruits also come under this category, and we should be eating a lot of these because they're also very rich in fiber. We should also aim to be eating different colored fruits and vegetables because they provide different phytonutrients. This is how a healthy plate should look like at every meal. Half your plate should be full of vegetables and fruits. 1/4 of the plate should have some whole grains. 1/4 of the plate should have a healthy protein, and then you should put a drizzle of a healthy oil. And always offer food with water. I totally understand how difficult it can be to feed your kids vegetables. And my advice to these families is usually, involve them in the whole process. Take them grocery shopping. Let them pick out a fruit or vegetable that they want to try for that week. Let them help prepare it. There's lots of kitchen equipment that's kid safe. They're more likely to eat them if they were involved in preparing them. So let's talk about micronutrients. These are your vitamins and minerals that you get from your food. They're super important for growth and development, and they're also important to maintain a good immune system. They're further divided into water-soluble and fat-soluble vitamins. Water-soluble vitamins are vitamin B and C. You can get a lot of this from the fruits and vegetables you eat. A quick note on vitamin B12. This one can be hard for vegetarians and vegans because the source is mostly meat and dairy. So if you're vegan and you're not consuming these foods, chances of vitamin B deficiency is higher. Fat-soluble vitamins would be vitamin A, D, E, and K. Vitamin D is another one that's really hard to get from food. This one is usually needed to be supplemented, especially for our kids under 1 year of age. Minerals can be further broken down into macrominerals and trace minerals. Macrominerals we need a little more of. Trace minerals we need smaller amounts. Macrominerals would include calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and sodium. To get enough amount of calcium from your food, we need about 2 to 3 servings of calcium-rich foods for our children and 3 to 4 servings of calcium-rich food for our tweens and teens. An easy source of calcium would be dairy, but for plant-based people, it can be tofu and plant-based milks as well. Trace minerals include iron, zinc, copper, iodine, manganese, selenium, and chromium. Iron deficiency is one of the most common deficiencies in pediatric population. So we have to ensure that every single meal that we serve our kids contains at least one food that's rich in iron. Iron is found in 2 forms. One is heme, the other one is non-heme. Heme form is found in meat products. This is more easily absorbed by our body. Non-heme form can be found in eggs and legumes, beans, whole grains. Anytime we are serving iron-rich foods, we can serve it with something that's rich in vitamin C. This will increase the absorption. So for example, you can serve chicken with a squeeze of lemon, or you can serve lentils that are cooked and prepared with tomatoes. So which foods should we limit or avoid? These are the 4 groups that are based on how processed a food or ingredient is. Group 1 will be your unprocessed or minimally processed foods. These includes your fruits, vegetables, dairy, whole grains, and we should be eating a lot of this. Group 2 are processed culinary ingredients, and we should be able to use them every day. Group 3 are processed foods, which include bread and cheese, and we should limit the amount that we consume. They can be had in small amounts on a daily basis. Ultra-processed foods would be the ones we want to avoid as much as possible. These include chips, sodas, cookies and cakes, any packaged snacks. These are really high in sodium, very high in sugars and saturated fats. They disrupt our gut health, and they also cause problems with obesity. Moving on to physical activity. For ages 3 to 5, it is recommended that the kids stay active throughout the day. For ages 6 to 17, it's recommended they get about 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity every day. This should include aerobic exercise, muscle strengthening activities, and bone strengthening activities as well. If your child is interested in sports, I would encourage that. If they're not into sports, I would explore other options like dancing, martial arts. Good sleep is almost as important as exercise. Getting good quality sleep will help with brain development. It improves mental health, attention span, and also helps with learning. So expecting our brains to turn off the minute we turn off our devices doesn't really work. The same way we have personal hygiene for our body, we need to have sleep hygiene to get restful and adequate sleep. I usually recommend that we turn off our devices at least an hour before bedtime. Have a usual set bedtime routine and a time that a child will go to bed. This will ensure that they're getting the restful sleep that they need. The recommended hours of sleep is different for different age groups. So for infants 0 to 3 months, it's about 14 to 17 hours including naps. For babies 4 months to 12 months of age, it's about 12 to 16 hours. For toddlers 1 to 2 years, it's 11 to 14 hours. For preschoolers, it's 10 to 13 hours. School-age kids, about 9 to 12 hours. And for teens, it's about 8 to 10 hours. Let's talk about mental health. Mindfulness has been the buzzword lately, and for all the right reasons. It helps you focus, it helps with your memory, and it also helps in reducing anxiety. It's just the practice of being in the moment. You can practice mindfulness with your child by going on for walks and observing things as you go. You can teach them breathing exercises. There's lots of examples. There's 5-finger breathing, 4-7-8 breathing. For the little kids that don't follow directions yet, you can practice blowing bubbles with them. We should also be eating without screens. This will encourage more mindful eating, so a child is not over or under eating. We should also encourage our kids to have healthy friendships. We can organize play dates, have community get-togethers. Just getting this socialization helps prevent the feeling of loneliness. It also helps create a sense of belonging. This will eventually help your mental health and help prevent depression and anxiety. Limiting screen time. There has been lots of studies on screen time lately. It leads to decrease in attention span. There's been research that indicates teens using social media for more than 3 hours a day are twice as likely to experience depression and anxiety. There definitely needs to be parental supervision, and we need to encourage mindful usage of screens. The current recommendation for screen time under 2 years of age is none. This does not include video chatting with distant family members, which is considered okay. Ages 2 to 5, we should be under 1 hour a day, and for ages 5 and up, we should be limiting it to 2 hours a day. So I'll come to the end of my presentation. I want to leave you with a quote. By empowering our children with the tools for healthy living, we unlock their potential to live their best lives. Thank you. And if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. We do have a few questions. The first question is, my toddler is very wiggly and does not like to sit down at the table and eat at mealtimes with our family. What are some tips to keep them at the table and make sure they eat enough of their meal?
So it can be hard to engage a toddler, especially at a table where they have to sit still, because usually they are full of energy and they want to move. So I will set expectation, give them a heads up, then in 10 minutes we're going to be eating our lunch or dinner. Once you're at the table, make sure their feet are touching the high chair. This will ensure that they have a little bit more stability. I would serve foods in a way that the child has a safe food, a food that they enjoy eating, and then you're serving small amounts of the foods that you want them to try. Cut it into fun shapes that is going to be more interesting to them. And if they pick on their food and they don't finish it, I would not force it, because usually toddlers will make up at the next meal.
The next question is, when is a safe age to introduce a cell phone to your child? And how can you monitor their screen time when they have one?
So I usually recommend waiting till the teenage years to give them a cell phone because of the risk of anxiety and depression that comes with exposure to social media specifically. And there are lots of parental controls on phones these days, so I would limit the time on it, and you can kind of limit the things they have access to.
The next question is, what are some tips to keep kids active when the weather outside might not be ideal for play, like rain, cold, or smoky air?
So for indoor activities, you can have a scavenger hunt for the littler kids. You can have them move around in the house like looking for things. You can have dance parties, or nowadays they have play couches that you can arrange in fun shapes and they can jump on it.
Thank you so much. This concludes our program. We really appreciate your insightful presentation, Dr. Singh. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. The entire broadcast of today's presentation will be available on our Facebook page and YouTube.